If you're feeling a little spacey at the office, it might not be your job or your colleagues or even the lighting. A new study from Harvard looked at how airflow in an office can affect the cognitive function of the people working inside it. CTV science and technology specialist Dan Riskin is here with another edition of This Week in Science. Dan, the study involved 300 participants across 6 countries, so that's a fairly substantial number. The researchers tracked the levels of carbon dioxide in the offices, as well as something called, what's a PM 2.5?
Yeah, it's particulate matter,
Okay.
and 2.5 is the size, so it's smaller than 2.5 microns. And basically, this just means like dust and smaller stuff, aerosols, the kinds of pollution that come from roads or from other kinds of pollution that you'd see in different cities that would vary. And it's been shown that this PM 2.5 correlates with a whole bunch of health problems when there's more pollution at those sizes. There you go. That's a nice look at it. That's not good for your body long term.
No.
But the idea that it would hurt you cognitively is sort of a new angle on this.
So when the air quality levels fluctuated, the participants were prompted to take 2 different tests. One involved identifying colors. The other was a math test. What did the researchers find out about how the air quality affected the test results?
Yeah, and these aren't hard tests. They're just tests that take a little bit of thinking. So the math test, simple addition and subtraction. The color test, it shows you the word yellow, but it's in a red font and asks you to read it. And you have to say yellow instead of saying red, but your brain takes a second because it's seeing the color red. It's called a Stroop test. And these are validated instruments. And when people do these tests, lo and behold, the pollution level in their office and the carbon dioxide levels in their office hurt their performance on those cognitive tests. And so this is really kind of exciting, the idea that people are sitting at their desks and you can measure in real time the fact that when there's not fresh air, their performance goes down. And this is something that people haven't really looked at before, but of course it makes sense. Yeah. And it's just a really interesting thing to think about.
Dan, I've been in a number of offices over the past few weeks, and given the pandemic, a lot of these companies and these offices have invested in air purification systems, industrial strength, the likes of which they probably wouldn't have considered before the pandemic. Do you think that's going to help the workers inside those buildings?
Absolutely. So it's very interesting. You know, one of the big questions is, why is this happening, right? And so if you've got to understand that if you want to know if it's going to help. And so when you talk about the particulate matter and you talk about those small pollution particles, it's thought that being exposed to those has a chronic inflammation that happens, and that a lot of those can cross the blood-brain barrier so that your whole nervous system is actually freaking out. And that is thought to be how that would actually hurt your performance. But absolutely, as people think about COVID and reducing aerosols from COVID reasons, they're going to be sweeping out those particles as well. And so that's going to be a net function that's going to help. But, you know, this isn't just workplaces at the workplace. A lot of people are working from home. I'm in my home studio, and there's not great ventilation in here. And so as I talk to you, I think about the carbon dioxide levels going up, and I think, I got to crack a window if I want to be on my game, because it's actually hurting my performance in a measurable way if I don't have ventilation.
Dan, it seems like the next logical step would be to study the effects of smoking on people who smoke chronically day in and day out, and the impact that the particulate in the cigarettes would have on their brains and their cognitive function.
Absolutely, and also secondhand smoke and all these other things. And actually, you know, this is a side thing, but a lot of people talk about medical marijuana and talk about the effects of marijuana cigarettes compared to other cigarettes. There you've got particulate matter as well, which is going to have an impact. But all of this just really comes down to the fact that fresh air is really good for us and that pollution is not. And so that's a worldwide health problem, but it affects us in our everyday lives in measurable ways. And if you're running a company and you're trying to save as much money as you can, and you're trying to get your workers to be as good as they can possibly be, to be their best selves, then pollution affects you too. And, you know, it's one thing to just filter the stuff coming in from outside, but if your company really wants to make an investment in the performance of its workers, then making an investment in a green future and making sure pollution is lower actually helps your bottom line as well. Dan Riskin, a great lesson to leave this on. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.